Namaste. Welcome to the Clyde Samvada. We have Anupam ji with us again. In a couple of episodes before that, we have talked about bhaktas. We started by talking about Tulasidas, and we have had the experience of talking about number of other bhaktas, Bharata, then Narada. So in that series, we wanted to continue by looking back at Ramcharitmanas in terms of how Tulasidas ji went about writing the Ramcharitmanas, the background to the story, and any other important bhaktas within Ramcharitmanas that we little know about. So, in that sense, could you start by talking about how Tulsidas ji went about writing the Ramcharitmanas and background story to that?
Certainly, Srivas Garu, thank you for asking that question. So, I think I'll start with Ramcharitmanas being the narration of Tulsidas ji is there's four cards, there's four pairs of Shrota and Bhakta, as we call it.
Okay.
So the one who listens and the one who speaks.
Okay.
So there's four pairs. So what are those four pairs? So the first pair is Shiva and Parvati. So Shiva narrating and Parvati questioning. Okay. So Sunahu, that's how Shiva says, and right. So and Parvati says Kahu. She asks those questions. So they have that conversation, and then there is another pair, that is a Yajnavalkya Rishi and Rishi Bharadwaj sitting at the Vatvriksha of beneath the Vatvriksha of Prayagraj. There is a very famous Vatvriksha if you go to Prayagraj, and they say that the Katha is still ongoing. They are having a conversation even now. Okay. Obviously in another dimension, but Katha is going on from one kalpa is what they say. But that's the conversation between Rishi Bharadwaj and Rishi Yajnavalkya, and it's all about this. So that's a bit of reference that Tulsidas ji gives. So that's the second pair of Shrota Bhakta.
Okay.
And the third pair is between Garud, who is Vishnu's Vahana, and Kagabusundhi. So now this is the character maybe we'll talk about today. Okay. And the fourth Shrota Bhakta is Tulsidas ji speaking to his own self, his man. Okay. Right. So he's narrating Ram Katha. So these are the four, it just switches, imagine a movie, it just switches between these four. But he obviously, he has a beautiful way of interweaving and switching between this. You don't lose context, but he quotes, at this point in time, this is what Bhusundi said to Garuda. At this point in time, this is what Shiva said to Parvati. And then, at this point in time, this is what Yajnavalkya commented to Bharadwaj. Because all of them are doing the Ram Katha, and then Tulsidas ji comes and he learns lesson. I say, oh, my mind, why don't you do this?
So Ramcharitmanas itself is a compilation of different conversations into one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's new information for me right there in that sense. Okay, so I heard about Bharadwaj, I heard about Yajnavalkya, I heard Shiva and Parvati, but this Kakabhusundhi is a new name for me. So can you tell me more about that version of the Ram Katha?
Okay. Wait, great. So this is about a narration of Garudji coming to Kakabusundhi. So you can ask, how did he land up with to Kakabusundhi, and why are they discussing the Ram Katha? So the story behind that is when in the Lanka Kand, when Ram, Lakshman, they were all fighting Ravan's army. So at that time, Indrajit, he was supposed to be even more accomplished, more powerful than Ravan. So
Indrajit is Ravan's son.
Son's eldest son, Meghnad, Indrajit as they call it. Indrajit because he had won over Indra. So one of the astras that he throws at Rama and Lakshman is the Nagpash. Okay. So they are the sons of Kadru, and they can actually suck out the life. So he binds them in the Nagpash, and there was no one who was able to help. So everyone was very distraught. At which point in time, Sankat Mochan. When there is Sankat, there has to be Sankat Mochan. So that's when Hanumanji says, "Don't worry, I'll go and get Garud, because snakes are the food of Garud." So he goes and he gets Garud. Now Garudji comes and he's saying, "Fine, that's great, but this is Vishnu Avatar, right? So what's he doing here? Like, why do I have to rescue?" So when he starts getting that doubt that is he really Vishnu? That Leela, as they say, I heard one place that when you hear about Leelas, that's good, but when you actually see a Leela, you can actually become consumed by it, and so anyway, he got victimized. Can I say that?
Okay.
Right. So he started. No, this can't be Vishnu. And then he said, I am having to rescue him. I don't think this is Vishnu. So on the way he met Narad Muni. I said, you really think he's Vishnu? Narad Muni says, don't come near me. Okay. So it seems Maya has got into you, right? I've been a victim of what you're, right? So please, I can't. You go to my father. You go to Brahma. So he says again. Garuki goes to Brahma. Look, I have this doubt. Can you answer my question? I say, okay. What's the question? I ask. Okay. I know what's happening here. Beyond my thing. Okay. Do one thing. Go to Shiva. So he goes and tells this question to Shiva, and Shiva says, okay, do one thing. Here's a bird, he's a crow.
Okay.
Go to his Busundi, gives him the location, Nilgiri Parvat, go and ask him your question. Okay. So, and Shiva's logic is Khagahi jane khagi ke bhasha, there's a line in Ramcharitmanas that he'll be able to explain better. And the other thing he wanted to say is, Garuda is the king of birds.
Yes.
A crow is not very high in the hierarchy of birds. Go sit at the feet, right? So again, it's the ego that has overcome you. So that's a way of him telling him you got to kill your ego. So they say that when he went to at that place, as soon as he entered the vicinity, so Kagabhusundhi has a boon from Sri Rama that in a certain vicinity, whoever comes, Maya will not be able to touch. Right? That's where Maya's boundaries are, right? She won't be able to enter. So as soon as he came out, right, the Maya that was over him that got cured. So he took a bath and he just said that this is amazing. I just want to meet the person who's the cause of all this. Okay. So he straight away, it's not that he went and asked the question to Busundi and said, look, can you answer this? No, it was gone. Because Maya was gone away. But he said, I want to listen to Ram Katha from you. So that's where the conversation started.
That is very, very interesting. So, why did Kakabusundi get this sort of high status? I mean, is there a story to that in terms of how did Kakabusundi become Rama's Bhakta in the first place? And then, why did Kakabusundi become such a reputed Bhakta in that sense?
A very fascinating story. Thanks for asking that question. So this is a question, by the way, that got the curiosity of Mata Parvati also, and she asked the exact same question to Shiva because Shiva was referencing in and out. This is what this is how Busundi narrates this. So he said, okay, he seems to be really accomplished, and the state, the kind of questions he says, or the way he answers the questions, and the way you describe Busundi to me so fondly. How did a crow achieve that exalted state? And there's a very beautiful set of lines in the Ramcharitmanas where so Parvati is known to ask questions beautifully. She has the art. There's no one better who can actually get that information out from Shiva other than Parvati. So she asks again in her own expert way that Shiva then answers. He opens up, right? So opens up his treasure of the Jnana and he starts. So anyway, so she asked the same question, and the story goes that there was this person who was born in Ayodhya, and at that time there's famine that happens. Obviously, a lot of suffering and people's faiths are shaken. He was one of them. So he says, who's this Ram? He can't even protect his own.
He was in Ayodhya itself.
He was born in. He was a citizen of Ayodhya, and he says, "Who's this? He can't even protect his own people. I don't believe in such a god. I'm going to go to Shiva." So he goes to Ujjain and he meets Mahakal. Yeah. So he goes to the city of Ujjain, Mahakal, and it was kind of the city. I think the center of India, right? City capital. So he gets a guru over there and he initiates him into Shiva Bhakti. But the guru is obviously, he knows the relation between Shiva and Vishnu. He doesn't differentiate between them. But he has this dvesh, this dvesh. And so one day, his guru told him like, look, I think you have something against Vishnu, against Ram. You should not do that. Okay, I'm your guru, listen to me. So he didn't like it. Okay, so it's a bit of a disrespect for a guru in that sense. So he was angry. And then on the following day, so as his guru was coming, he just pretended to not basically disrespect his guru. Okay. And they say, Shiva is, that's what I believe, he's like the keeper of the Guru Tattva. So he cannot allow a guru to be disrespected, right? So he became very angry and a voice came from the temple saying that you're sitting there like a cobra without anything in front of your guru, you're affecting a guru. I curse you to take 1,000 births as a cobra.
Oh.
So, Kagabusundhi's guru was I don't know his real name at that time, but he was obviously terrified. But then he composed the Rudrashtak. You would have heard of the Rudrashtak.
Yes.
Navamesha Meshana Nirvana Rupan. So that's when he composed the Rudrashtak, and he offered it to Shiva as a stuti. And then Shiva is Ashutosh, right? So he gets pleased very quickly.
Okay.
So he said, "Look, I've cursed him, but because you're saying this, he's not going to suffer the pain of death in those 1,000 births, and I'm going to give him Ram Bhakti." They said, "Okay, because of you, because he has a guru like you, and he's going to remember all of his previous births just so that he progresses." So he takes those births, and then he comes out and he takes a birth as a human. He's born in a Brahmin family. His name is Busundi Sharma, and he knows what's going on. So he knows his goal very clearly. His father tries to teach him everything. He's not interested at all. He just goes away in search of that enlightenment. And then comes a story of him meeting Lomash Rishi. So I don't know if you've heard of Lomash Rishi, but Lomash Rishi is someone who has. So what one kalpa is it's a very long period of time. So they say that when one kalpa elapses, he's a very hairy rishi. One hair falls from his body.
Okay.
So that's his age. So he's Lomash Rishi. Okay, so he meets Lomash Rishi and he starts asking about Ram, and Lomash Rishi starts talking to him about Nirgud Brahma. Okay, so, and he's very much, he spent 1,000 births, and he's just very, I would say he's desperate, and he keeps asking, "No, I want to know about Sagun. I want to know." And so he keeps questioning, and Lomash Rishi, his anger just starts slowly rising.
Okay.
So he says, "Okay, I'm trying to give you some really, really high form of knowledge, and you just keep, arguing with me like a crow."
Oh, okay.
So go take the form of a crow. So that's how he gets his body. That's how he gets a body for crow. Now, when that happens, his reaction is totally cool. He's like, "You're my guru, no problem. I'm very relaxed." So that's when it's like a test. It's like the final pariksha, as they say. So that time, he gets a lot of boons from Lomash Rishi, and he gets then Akashvani comes and Rama gives him a lot of boons. One of them being that wherever you are among this, there's a particular boundary, there Maya does not be there, and he gives him a lot of other boons. So by the way, his age, they say that from 27 kalpas he is there. That's one thing, and there are other stories of how every time Ram takes birth, he always goes to visit Rama, and he plays with him as a child, and then there's another story of him also doubting that how can a kid like this be, as you go and see a Leela, you get victimized, right? This is Maya is no one, it spares no one.
Okay.
So he also gets a doubt, and then Rama, they show him, he actually takes him inside. When he goes inside Rama, he goes and sees a lot of worlds. Okay. So that's another story, and a lot of detail of what he sees is in the Yog Vashisht. And the Yog Vashisht are kind of one-to-one conversations where even Lakshman is not present. That's the only place that I know of where Rama is without Lakshman, and he's speaking to Guru Vashisht, and that's the Yog Vashisht.
Interesting. Okay. So a lot of things. I'm like super I'm what is happening. So when you talked about the Shiva and Parvati conversations, I think that conversation repeats at different parts. I mean, like with this Rama conversation, with questions about kagabusundhi, and the other thing which I remember when you were talking about again from a Rama context is within Vishnu Sahasranamam. There is again towards the end there's a conversation between Shiva and Parvati.
Yes.
And it is the answer that Shiva gives to Parvati where it comes at Sri Rama 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 Jame Rama. So it's like Rama Nama is equivalent to the entire Sahasranama. So again it's like we have in previous discussion we talked about the Shanmata Stapana and all of that. We talked about like Vaishnava, Shaiva, all of these traditions being different. But this to me personifies the fact that there is the integration that the gods themselves have brought in. Because Shiva is answering a question where he's saying Rama, if you take Rama's Nama once, that's equivalent to taking 1,000 times Vishnu's Nama. and that's coming from Shiva himself. I mean, so it's interesting how a lot of these different threads really come together in that sense.
There's at least, I think, 2 or 3 instances in the Ramcharitmanas where Ram cannot be more emphatic that without going to Shiva, don't even dream of coming to me. Teaching him. So he tells that to his subjects after he's coronated as king. He at the time of Rameshwaram, you should listen to that. Thing, right? So it's very clear. It's very clear what he says about his relation with Shiva, and then I think there's one more place. So very, very, very strong language. No ambiguity.
Yeah. Interesting. And Kakabhusundhi, after becoming a big Rama Bhakta, is there anything which has been attributed to him in terms of tasks that he's expected to do, or why he was elevated to high levels? Anything in that sense?
So he's there is, see, again, like everyone likes to write Ramayana, so he's written his own Ramayana. That's one thing. And other than that, he's a guiding. So Shiva, for example, Shiva takes the form of a swan and visits him many times. And that's because if he visits as himself, he'll become the center, right? So but he goes to they're kind of friends. There are stories about whenever Rama takes birth. So he goes to Shiva and says, "Let's go." So both of them go to Ayodhya and then they're all those for us, right? All those exploits that they have. So there's one about Shiva becoming an astrologer and Kagabusundhi becoming his shishya. And how they go and it's
we've always talked about Hanuman being like the perfect bhakta, but for me today I got to know that there is almost like an equal importance we should have been giving to kagabusundhi over the bhakta that he has for Rama in that sense.
I think if you just there is an excerpt, a little bit of in the Uttarkand of Ramcharitmanas, there is a very nice conversation between Garud and Bhusundhi where Garud asks questions not just about Ram but about overall. And I like to say that it is as dense in Jnana or probably more dense than a black hole. It's just amazing that Uttarkand. It's highly recommended.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anupam ji, for sharing the insights on number of bhaktas. I mean, it's really been fascinating to draw your insights about the Bhakta Charitra to different bhaktas and that's it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure as always. Thank you so much. Namaskar.